Hey guys, it's been a while, but I'm back, and there's a lot of new faces. That last video I did, you guys fucking love that, so we're gonna do more knife reviews in the future and just gear reviews in the future. I'm just gonna get that out of the way right now. But for now, we have another episode of Gourmet Trash Food, and today we're making Flamin' Hot Cheeto mac and cheese. Now, the shit already exists. So, like, what are we doing? Well, we're going to make it better. I should write a script. So, what are we going to do to make it better? Well, we're going to make a baked mac and cheese. We're going to make a bechamel. We're going to add cheese to it, make a Mornay sauce, throw the mac and cheese in there, bake it in the oven, and then we're going to top it with some fucking Cheetos. Because it's gourmet, but it's trash. Gourmet trash food. Come on. Now, I'm super stoked because longtime viewers of this channel, my homies that have been supporting me since day one, have known that my oven's a piece of shit. I got a new oven, which means I can actually properly bake things in it. So shout out to my homies Kara and B if you guys are watching this. Thank you for the oven that you guys were getting rid of. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is grate some cheese. Now, we're going to be using smoked cheddar, some brie, and some Gruyere. Now, I brought pre-grated Gruyere, which really goes against my code of ethics. I hate buying pre-grated cheese because I'm a snob, but that's all they had at the store. So, we'll start with some cheddar. And now, why these three flavors? Oh, that's loud. Why these three flavors? Because it sounded good. We're gonna grate roughly half of this. And we're going to grate, and we're going to grate, and we're probably going to just go ahead and jump cut. And there we go. Now let's make sure the cheese is good. That's really good. And then at the same time, I'm probably going to use about half of this. I don't have any measurements. I actually, like most of my videos, I haven't made this before. I'm just kind of winging it, and then afterwards I'll figure out the actual measurements for the recipe. So I'm going to take about half of this. I'm just going to add it to this bowl. Got about half a block of smoked cheddar, about half a container of shredded Gruyere. And then the brie, we're going to do half of that too. So now what exactly are we doing here? We're going to make a bechamel. For those who don't know, a bechamel is one of the 5 French mother sauces. And from the bechamel, when you add cheese to it, it becomes a Mornay sauce. Now, I had this wild, stupid idea a while back. You can use the dust that comes in this, the cheese dust, instead of a flour to make a roux. A roux. It's not really a roux, but it's a roux. So you just put this in a pan, melt some butter, and throw the cheese dust in. And you get your roux. You add some milk. I'm using buttermilk today. Why? Because I felt like it. You get your bechamel. We'll add all this, and we have a Mornay. Right now, we have some water going on the stove. We're going to boil some pasta. I'm not going to show you guys how to boil pasta. You can read a box. We're going to boil it to about al dente. So al dente, like you're a little excited but not too excited, a little stiff, that's al dente. And we're actually going to go just a little stiffer than al dente because we are going to be baking this after the fact, so we want that to factor in when we cook it. So, let's go ahead and get this roux started, and we'll go from there. Super simple video today, guys, but I think this is going to turn out great. Hey guys, before we get into the video, I just wanted to touch on something real quick. At the end, I say that when I taste it, I say that it's really good. And it was, but the truth of the matter is, it wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be. And part of the reason I said it was so good, it was, but also there was this, expectation I had set for myself after having this plan for so long. The reason I'm telling you this is a few things. One, obviously, I spent time and money making this, and I'm not just gonna, waste content and time. I'm gonna make this video and post it. Two, it's important to me that I retain my credibility, and I don't want to put out some bullshit recipe that isn't as good as it could be, and somebody tries it and they're like, well, what the f is this guy doing? That's not at all. So it's transparency with everyone is super important. And then another big thing that I think is really important to talk about here, um, cooking. Cooking is all about learning, and it's all about making mistakes. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. Um, you can make mistakes. You can fuck up. Um, and it's important to cook through that and to not get discouraged. Um, I remember one time I messed up a big batch of basil pesto, and it sent me into a spiral because I was like, "Why the can't you make basil pesto?" Um, and don't do that. Don't put out subpar product and then get upset about it. Learn from it and be better. And cooking is super important to me. It's my life. It's my career. Um, and just you know understand that sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we don't make things that are as good as they are, and all you can do is learn from it and go. Um, with that said, let's get back to the video. All right, so let's disrespect the out of some French cooking techniques. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by making a roux. And so I've got my my pan on about medium-low heat. You want it on a lower end because you don't want your butter fats to separate too much. And also it's going to help with the cheese later when we start adding that. So I'm throwing 2 sticks of butter in here. It's a whole 2 sticks. Just going to move those around. Got them softened a little bit. Get them to start melting. And now, a couple things I failed to mention earlier because like I said, I really need to start writing scripts for these and stop just improving this entire video. I'm not using the noodles that come with the box of the mac and cheese. Reason being is I'm making a pretty large portion. I'm making 2 pounds of pasta. That's not enough. Why am I making 2 pounds of pasta? I don't know. It sounded like the right amount to make. Give some of this to my neighbor, bring some to my coworkers. Enough to share. And so what I'm using instead are cavatappi noodles, which let me grab one since they're done. Which look something like this. You gonna focus on me? You gonna focus? There we go. There we go. So you got the like loopy swoopy noodle. It's hollow and it's got all those little ridges on it. What that's gonna do is it's gonna allow for a lot of this cheese sauce to just really get in there and bind to the noodle, get inside of it, and you're just gonna have a cheesier, tastier noodle on a bit. The other thing that I didn't mention is with the brie that we're using. Brie has a moldy rind on it, and while that rind is totally edible, it doesn't melt. So what I did, I used a knife to just cut that rind off of it. And now it doesn't have to be perfect. The little bits of the rind are still on there, and that's totally fine. That mold, again, is totally edible. And in fact, some of it might be desirable in the finished product. It'll add a little bit of texture, and it's a mold, and it's going to add a little bit of funk to it, which will probably actually be pretty good. And now I'm using this big, deep cast iron skillet for 2 reasons. One, I'm going to be able to do this all in one dish. And 2, more importantly, it occurred to me that somehow I don't actually own like a casserole pan. So most of you will probably end up doing this in a casserole, but if you have a big, deep cast iron, this will work perfectly because I can do this on the stove, stick it right in the oven. It's got plenty of room for everything. As much cooking as I do, I don't have a properly sized casserole. I've got a giant roasting tray, which would be too much for this, and I have like a couple half pans that you see in restaurants. The half pan's too small. The roasting tray is too big. This cast iron, I think, is going to work perfectly. And now we're going to take Chester's secret seasoning, his finest stuff. You gotta keep it a secret, it ain't easy being cheesy. And holy sh... What? Why? I guess we'll cut it. I'm just gonna add all this flaming hot dust. Look how f***ing red that is. Jesus. And some of the dust will kick up. Got spicy dust in your face, now you gotta sneeze. Maybe, or you just feel like you have to sneeze, but you're not. Wait. Oh, God. I hate not being able. God. Oh, God. I hate not being able to sneeze when I can't sneeze. It's literally the worst thing in the world for me. It's like that thing that happens when you think you're about to, and then you don't. I'm gonna keep it kind of appropriate here, but I'll let you fill in the blanks. So now we're just mixing this up. We're getting all those chunks out, getting it nice and smooth. Yeah, I get it. You're preheated. We also have our oven preheated. Thank you for the reminder, oven. To about 375. This is thickened up a little bit. It could be thicker, but we'll be okay. Yeah, it's thick. You see where it's kind of streaking as we drag our rubber spat through it. What are you doing, dude? Is that a zip tie? Cat's just going crazy on a zip tie. I don't even know why there's a zip tie right there. Now we're just going to pour some buttermilk in this motherfucker. Again, I used buttermilk because I just wanted to try it. I wanted to see how it turned out. Have a little bit of acidity with the buttermilk. And you know, at this point, it might be smart to switch to a whisk. My birthday's next month, and all I want is a larger kitchen. Alright, so we got that nice and emulsified. We're going to let this come up to a little bit of a simmer, just where it starts steaming, kind of a few bubbles. We don't want it too hot because we don't want those. We don't want it to start separating and burning and all that shit because you know dairy does that. So we're gonna give it a second. We'll come right back to it. All right, so we're just barely getting to a simmer, and that's what we want. We don't want it boiling, so we don't want to burn anything. We've got our flamin' hot bechamel, which I like to think that I'm the first person to ever say those words in that order. We're gonna kill our heat. And then we're going to take our cheese. It's important when you're making a cheese sauce like this, you want to add the cheese bit by bit with very low heat. Because what will happen is that cheese will start to break down. If you've ever made a cheese sauce and you know it's had like a really gritty texture to it, it's because it was on high heat. And what that does is it breaks down a lot of the stuff in the cheese, the emulsifiers and the other shit that I can't remember, but basically the stuff that makes cheese. It breaks it down and causes that really grainy texture. So you want to do it off the heat while it's still hot or on really low heat and add it slowly. So we're kind of just gonna, you know, patiently do this. It's gonna take a little bit, but I think it will be worth it. And as this happens, we should start to see this thickening up. And if it doesn't thick up as much as it should, well, I guess we'll just add more cheese to it. A little bit more. Yeah, we can already start seeing it get a little bit thicker. Just good. It's what we want. And I'll tell you guys, filming this video is a bit of a race against time right now because, like an idiot, I waited until the 4th of July to film this video that I have been planning for a month and just haven't gotten around to because of work and ADHD and anxiety and depression. You know, all those fun things that go on in your brain and working a full-time job. Full-time exhausting job. But anyway, it's the 4th of July. It's about 6:30, 7 o'clock right now. And I live in the hood, which means relatively soon my neighborhood is going to start sounding like a f***ing war zone. And also, I'm going to have to take care of Corin because he did not like the fireworks going off last night. So I'm going to have to make sure he's cool. And while I do love fireworks, I love my cat more. And I'll probably just do like some sort of fast forward edit right here or jump cut. Who knows? This is taking a while. Now it's okay too, as you're doing this, to put the heat back on just a little bit, just on low. Because as you add all this cheese, it's going to cool the sauce down. It's going to make everything harder to melt. So don't be afraid to put your heat back on low. Just make sure you keep everything moving. And like I said, you're just adding bit by bit. And I did add maybe a bit too much buttermilk here. So I'm going to grate some more cheese, which, you know, as we established, not a bad thing. So we'll be right back. Alright, so I've grated some more cheese, and I'm starting to add them. We're starting to get the desired effect. But as we're doing this, I'm reminded of a pretty pertinent point that I didn't consider when I was actually buying this cheese. Now, if you look closely, you can see some kind of gummy chunks in here that aren't really quite melting. That's because, and this goes back to me being picky about buying whole block cheese versus grated cheese. Grated cheese is covered in various things like potato starch and stuff like that that keeps it from sticking together in the bag. And what happens is it doesn't melt right. It makes it melt really weird, get kind of gummy, and just turns into kind of a pain in the ass. And that's why I really try to avoid, especially if I'm making a cheese sauce where I have to melt something into like a smooth, consistent thing. I really try to avoid grated cheese. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, all the store had when I got this was the grated stuff, which is infuriating, but it is what it is. But that's why it's looking like this. If you buy the whole block cheese, it should not happen. You should have a much better time with this. So we're just gonna add this last little bit of cheese here. So while it doesn't look that thick right now, it's because it's hot. And once this cools down, it's gonna thicken up considerably. Now, if you noticed, I haven't seasoned anything yet. And that's because between the cheeses and the cheese dust, there's a lot of flavor already happening. And so what I'm wanting to do is make sure this sauce is, you know, everything's added, emulsified, everything like that. And then we're going to taste it and see what it needs. So we are just about to that point. And then I actually did kick up the heat just a touch more on this, which is okay if you are really adamant about keeping the sauce moving. And you'll notice a lot of that gummy stuff is starting to go away. It's starting to melt down. It just needs a little bit of a push. And there's a firework going off into this. I don't think you guys can hear that, but there's some booms happening right now. All right, so let's give this a little taste. All right, so it's salty enough, which I expected. But I am going to add, when I find it, here it is, a considerable amount of black pepper. If you're new here, you don't know how I feel about black pepper. I love black pepper dearly. So we're going to add a metric ton, is what I like to call it. Which I think I stole that from Dexter years ago, back when Dexter was still a good show. I'm just going to do a couple thousand turns of black pepper. And a nice little stir. Again, it doesn't look super thick, but that's because it's super hot. You can actually feel how much thicker it is than when we started, just when you're whisking it. And so we're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with those f***ing Cheetos in your face. Alright, so yeah, what we're doing is we're just adding the pasta now, which has been sitting for a while, so it's very starchy and kind of stuck together, which is fine. I'm going to dump the whole glob in there because I want to be able to mix it and then add some more and mix it. Probably about half now and then half later. There's a meme about what this sounds like. And with as much cheese as I added, this didn't quite thicken up the way that I wanted to, but I think we're going to be okay. Nope, yep, that'll do, pig. That'll do. So this last little bit of Gruyere that we have, I'm just going to sprinkle that on top, give it a nice little cheesy layer. Then partway through cooking, I don't want to put them in the whole time, but we are going to throw some Cheetos on there. At this point, that's heavy. Alright, oven, let's see what you can do. Alright, we are almost at the finish line, so last thing we're going to do is we're going to crush up some of these Cheetos. And obviously we're not going to crush this whole bag, so I'm just going to take a little bit here. I don't know, that seems reasonable. Put these off to the side and try not to eat that whole bag tonight, because those are really good. I have my rolling pin out because usually what I do when you have to do something similar to this, you can take a rolling pin, you can just smack them. That's overkill right now that I'm thinking about it. I'm just gonna something like that. Mac and cheese has been in for a little bit at this point. Starting to heat through. Oh shit, that's right. It's really heavy. Let's grab another towel. I'm just gonna dump this around. It's just like putting breadcrumbs on your baked mac and cheese, except it's f***ing Cheetos. And then we're gonna go back in the oven for another 5-10 minutes. Those Cheetos, get some heat on them, maybe get a little bit crispier, maybe get a little brown on them. Jeez. Make sure that mac and cheese is fully heated. And we're good. Alright, well, we're finally out of the oven. This actually came out of the oven like an hour ago almost. I let it set to cool, then got distracted by YouTube videos, and now here we are. So naturally, it's 9:41, and it sounds like the 1812 Overture in my backyard. In fact, I'm pretty sure my mic's picking that up. So you know, let's just get through it. But yeah, we did this. This actually looks pretty good. I'll get a nice little picture for you guys. Just dig in. Oh god, making a mess. That little Cheeto garnish on there. I'm actually really excited for those. I've had this idea for so long. Shut up, jeez. Yeah, that turned out great. That's really good. Anyway, yeah, that's Flamin' Hot Cheeto mac and cheese, but, you know, made using some actual cooking technique instead of just from the box. So, as always, thank you for watching. It's pretty abundantly clear. You guys like the knife review, and kitchen gear review in general. There is a specific item that got requested quite a few times in the comments of the last video. If you know, you know. It's on the way. It's in the mail. So expect that coming in a couple weeks. I will be making that video for sure. Definitely got some more gear reviews. Let me know in the comments what else you want to see, whether it's what you want to see me cook, what you want to see me review. Let me know. We'll make it happen. Hit those buttons that make YouTube tell YouTube that you like what I'm doing, all that good stuff. Also, Instagram, Twitter, hell, even TikTok. Follow me, LaunchpadCooks. You know what to do. Love y'all. See ya.